Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to us. We are everywhere where podcasts can be found. If you want to, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the somewhat wild world of animation, but also hit upon one of its slowest moments this year. Oh boy, and now on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And on today's episode, we are covering Jujutsu Kaisen, Hidden Inventory's Premature Death, with a little bit of Season 2. But first, we have to talk about Smurfs.
Honestly, for some context, we tried to record this and then it glitched out on us, so little behind the scenes magic and wonder there. So I might sound a little crankier than I am, but it really sucks to hit these low points because of every theatrical animation release year, because I don't like being grumpy. I don't like being mad about movies because that's not fun. That takes a lot of energy and then I get really tired at the end and such. So I was not looking forward to Smurfs. And if you've been to the theater multiple times this year, you were probably ambushed by the Smurfs teaser trailer.
Oh,
And,
yes.
Whether it was an R-rated movie or something more action or comedy based, you probably got the Smurfs movie, especially if it was a Paramount movie. Because heaven forbid Paramount tried to force you, to remind you that the Smurfs movie was coming out. Oh boy. Possibly the candidate for the worst marketing campaign of the year.
I would have to agree with that.
And what's even worse is, just like the Sherlock Gnomes marketing, the movie wasn't as bad as the marketing made it out to be. It's not good. This is probably the second worst animated film of the year I've seen. I'm sorry, Colorful Stage, the movie, is still my choice for the worst movie of the year.
Same.
I know we haven't seen Sneaks. We will talk about Sneaks sometime, just not right now. And, it's just funny. This is the fourth time they have tried to make a Smurfs movie work. It somewhat worked with those live action films, but they stopped doing those. I guess the second one did underwhelmed enough to be okay, let's not do live action, let's do animation. And then of course the 2017 movie came out, and while it's still not great, it was way better than the two live action movies and the older movie that was released, I think, way back in either the 60s or 70s. I think the 70s.
Yeah, it was just before the Hanna-Barbera series, I think.
Yeah, right before. And then, well, it was okay, fresh start. You're not connected to Sony anymore. You can do whatever you want. And to be fair to Chris Miller and Pam Grady, I could kind of see what they were doing with this. Unfortunately, here's the one major thing I will talk about before we head into the story of the movie. So, against our will, Paramount hyped from heaven to earth, hell or high water, that Rihanna was Smurfette. She was going to voice the character. I think she was going to be a pseudo producer on the movie, but she was also going to make music for the movie. Okay, all right. Then the first teaser came out, and it just woof. I don't think I've seen a vitriolic reaction to a trailer this badly in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the golly, I think maybe the Sherlock Gnomes trailer again was one where people were like, "Oh God, this looks awful." And so, question, Mike. Out of all the marketing and hype and pressure that Paramount put on us, saying Rihanna's in the movie, Rihanna's in the movie, Rihanna's in the movie, she's the reason you need to come see this movie, Apparently not. She's not the reason because Smurfette is not the main character. She is a co-lead to.
James motherfucking Corden.
So James Corden plays OC Do Not Steal Smurf, a new male Smurf. God, I just realized how archaic this all sounds. You gotta have a main male lead character, man. We're old dinosaurs running the studios that have no idea what we're doing. And he's like, I'm trying to find my purpose in life. And like, listen, I get it. You didn't want to do another Smurfette origin story. I completely get that. But there's a difference between James Gunn skipping out on doing Superman's backstory and then not wanting to have another Smurfette thing, because Smurfette is the most interesting character of the franchise. There's the reason why she's probably the most marketable, the most iconic character, and all that jazz. But she's not the main character. We have OC Do Not Steal Smurf, who is wanting to find his purpose in life. And, well, okay, so backstory time. They put a lot of this magical, epic lore into the Smurfs, mind you, that there used to be these 4 magic tomes, these books, and they were like possessed by this league of evil wizards. And one of them escaped, and 3 Smurfs protected it. So it was up to Papa Smurf to basically say, hey, I'm going to hold on to this one book, and we're going to make sure those evil wizards don't find it. Okay, big problem there. Papa Smurf doesn't tell anyone about this. None of the Smurfs, not even like Nosy Smurf or whoever, like the one from the 2017 one, like who was like butting in at multiple times, which was probably the best running gag of that movie.
Yeah.
And it's just like they party, they just have their purpose and whatever, except for OC Do Not Steal Smurf. And then he finds out he can use magic just out of the blue with a book that doesn't interact with anyone for about like 80%, maybe 95% of the movie. But anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. And then Papa Smurf is kidnapped, not by Gargamel, but by Gargamel's evil brother, Razamel, which, okay, someone wanted to put their OC villain in there, and I want Gargamel to have a brother who's evil because Gargamel's actually not that evil of a wizard. Oops. Which is kind of like the tone, and the point is that Gargamel was not a threat. I mean, he could be, but he was never really that big of a threat. So
yeah, basically.
So essentially, it's like they gotta go find Papa Smurf. They gotta, oh boy, they gotta multiverse this shit. And let's talk about some of the few positives. One, while the animation by, I think, Cinesite,
Yep.
it wasn't the best, but I do like how it looks. At least I like how the Smurfs look. They find a way to do that 2D thing with their eyes, and it has a very nice bright color palette. It doesn't look as good as it could. It tries to do some of that stylized 2D, 3D hybrid stuff.
The animation itself is okay at best, but the art design is great. And honestly, some of the best animation I've seen in the movie is the one scene where they do travel through all the different dimensions and they change art styles.
Yeah, they do one for stop motion, and then they do one that's like crudely drawn pencil sketch, then a 8 bits video game, and then where they go like microscopic. They encounter a tardigrade. Even though I did love the gag where he's just like, "Will you be my friend? I am so lonely." Like all I could think about was Jeffrey Dean Morgan from Invincible with
Oh
like
god.
with his character where he's just you just hear him out of blue just go like, I am so lonely. It's like stranger danger, man. And it's the one time where the film is like really having fun with itself. 2, JP Karliak as both Gazamel and Razamel is hands down the best vocal performance of the movie. Like with all the celebrities attached to this freaking thing who don't offer or do anything distinct or interesting, JP Karliak does so much because he gives both brothers their own mannerisms and vocal performances. Like Gargamel is very much just like, I'm trying to be an evil old wizard, but I am hugely incompetent at it. I'd rather just hang out with my cat all day, which, fair.
Yeah.
And like Razamel is a evil, short, evil villain who you find out that even among the League of Evil Wizards, he is not respected among them. I do like the gag when he's trying to get like to his like evil lair, but it's like so far away from the room where he talks to the evil wizards in. I did like that gag. It's very funny. And then of course when they finally do the Zoom meeting and such, like yes, it's a gag that's been done before, but it's always funny when he starts talking and then they're like, "Oh god damn it, his microphone is off."
It is a very dumb gag, but like between that and the idea that Razamel, as evil as he is still just like a worthless peon compared to the rest of the council, it does get a little chuckle out of me.
Like the movie tries to be very like funny, it doesn't really work. It's just not really a funny movie. It was like in isolated moments, like Clumsy Smurf. I don't know how they made that work, but he was constantly funny. Like for that one moment he was in, where it's like okay, Pop Smurf got out. Okay, I'm out. Okay, Pop Smurf, hold on, out. And like it's just funny. There are so many Smurfs in this movie, and they do nothing. Like half of them have their one trait, and that is it. Except for like sound effects Smurf. He is a shit posting little hater, and I love him. He is the best character of the movie because he will just fuck with you just because.
Yeah.
Like, it's just funny how the previous 3 movies were able to use their character dynamics. Like, I guess, like, Scaredy Smurf was, I guess, turned into Nervous Smurf. But it's like they don't do anything. Yeah, and they got Brainy in there also. And yeah, they don't offer a whole lot to the story because it's really just OC Do Not Steal Smurf and Rihanna. I know it's Smurfette, but it's basically Rihanna.
Yeah. We need to talk about the fact that every single cinematic iteration of the Smurfs hire just like some pop star to voice Smurfette, and the closest they get to getting it right is Demi Lovato, and even then, the movie she's in is only just okay.
It's like, stop doing that. Get a voice actress, or at the very least, get an actress who can bring the charm and the likability to Smurfette. Because as much as I love Rihanna as a pop singer, and hey, her music is great. I like these songs weren't great per se. Like I forget which ones were actually in the movie, so that's a bad sign. But I like Rihanna overall as a musician and pop artist. I do not like her as an actor. She cannot act. Whatever like jokes that they do have for her do not work. They land with a thud and are extremely wooden. Like I hate dunking on her because it's not like a lot of these other actors are good. Like I think John Goodman just sounds so tired. And who knows, maybe this was like recorded during that moment where he was like working in a Tom Cruise movie where he broke his arm or something like that. And like he's fine. Mandy Patinkin just had a way better time playing Papa Smurf.
I liked what John Goodman. I liked what John Goodman was doing, but that's just because he's John Goodman. He was just kind of on autopilot, like in this role.
Yeah, just like nice guy John Goodman. And okay, let's also talk about this. the marketing really wants you to think it's going to take place in a human world at some point. And to be fair, they do get to the human world, but it is pretty much pointless. Like, there is no reason for them to be in the live action human world. Also, like, it's pointless alongside that freaking turtle. Like, who was the turtle? And, like, okay, let's see here. Hold on. Yeah, his name is just Turtle, and he's voiced by pop artist, producer, music maker Marshmello. And he does nothing. It's like you could have easily gotten a voice actor to do the I'm a slow Cecil turtle. Like, you could have gotten Eric Bauza to do that part.
Yeah, seriously.
And then they land in Paris. At least thank God it's not New York. Neil Patrick Harris is safe from the Smurfs. It's funny. They run through Paris and they encounter another division of Smurfs. And golly, man, like, again with the celebrity voice cast, Hannah Waddingham is great. I love her in Ted Lasso. I thought she was the best part of the Garfield movie from last year. She can be a very fun actress. She was also really good in The Fall Guy. You didn't need her here. Nope. You could have gotten someone else. You could have gotten half of these celebrities to be someone else. Or like just gotten Eric Bauza to do some of these like a majority of them. Because let's go through these celebrities. I get it. You had to have Rihanna because she was doing music and she would have been like the big mark appeal. James Corden, you could have gotten someone else. John Goodman, you could have replaced. Nick Offerman, he plays Papa Smurf's brother, Ken, and he's fine. He's not a very interesting character. It's like if Papa Smurf was 40 years younger and was a bit more of a badass, but Nick Offerman is doing his best. It's just the material doesn't work for him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because Nick Offerman can be so funny. And I'm not just talking about like Parks and Rec and such. So JP Carliak, he's the only one doing anything here. Dan Levy as this weird random human assistant to Razamel. You could have replaced him. Could have just replaced him. Amy Sedaris as the jaunty magical book. Like, listen, I love Amy Sedaris, but golly, talk about like another actor in this movie who like shows up for very little and does very little with their performances. Natasha Lyonne playing these
Snooterpoots.
Yeah, Snooterpoofs, which are basically made up and are. I'm sorry, this movie is so forgettable. I forgot if they kept the fart jokes from the trailers in this movie, and that's why they're called Snooterpoots, but it's just whatever. Like, Natasha Lyonne is fine. It's just also weird to watch something with Natasha Lyonne when she's like trying to work and make that progressive, like non-bad AI studio work. And it's just like, God dang it, Natasha. Like Sandra Oh, you didn't need her.
Nope.
Jimmy Kimmel, no. Octavia Spencer, no. Nick Kroll, I'll stick with Nick Kroll because he's a good enough voice actor to where he was probably one of the other few to do decently well. Alex Winter plays Hefty Smurf, and it's like, okay. I like Alex Winter. I don't know if he had enough charisma for Hefty Smurf. And it's just also hard because Joe Manganiello was way more entertaining as the like dumb jock that Hefty Smurf was. Vanity Smurf was played by Maya Erskine, or if you were in the UK, Ryan Clark. Kurt Russell played the third brother of Papa Smurf as Ron, which is just making my Parks and Rec brain fry a little. It's like, you could have had Ron played by Ron Swanson. Come on! Zolo Maraduena as Brainy Smurf, whatever. Hugo Miller as Clumsy Smurf, okay, fine. Chris Miller as Grouchy Smurf, okay, yeah, fine. Another just filler role. I can't believe I'm going to say that George Lopez what is so far the best Grouchy Smurf, but he was the best Grouchy Smurf. Just like when they try to make fun of the Smurf song in the live action film, Neil Patrick Harris is like, "Don't you do any of you find that song annoying?" And then of course George Lopez was like, "I find that song annoying." Again, Billy Lord as Worry Smurf. I mean, she's fine. Such a nothing movie. This movie has so many plot points going on. Like there's OC Do Not Steal Smurf trying to find his purpose. Smurfette dealing with the fact that she was an evil creation of Gargamel. Something must have happened in this production because there are so many plot points, so many characters that don't do anything or don't show up for a whole lot. And they try to have another Smurfette identity crisis plot point that goes nowhere. And the only reason I can assume they entered into the live action parts was because they had to have that twist with like, oh yeah, this is the time you went to Paris. This is the time you enjoyed French fries and stuff. And what's weird about these live action bits are no human acknowledges the existence of these Smurfs. They don't be like, oh shit, these little blue guys are back or something like that. They just conveniently miss them.
Yeah, part of me is kind of wondering if they incorporated live action bits as a way to cut down on the cost.
Well, it's like, yeah, this movie supposedly has a $58 million budget, which explains why they didn't do all the cool multiverse visual styles things for long. Probably the shortest amount of time I've seen any movie do that bit. It was like even more entertaining in the Captain Underpants TV series because all like anytime they did like the one episode they focused on the claymation stuff, it was just the fact that claymation is super expensive, so the animation got worse as the episode went on. So it's just like we can't barely move, we're running out of money. But what's also so weird about these live action bits is the fact that there are animated humans in this world that, of course, do not interact with anyone from the live action elements. So Rosamel lives in the human world. Okay. So you're telling me nobody sees this little weird trollish looking motherfucker walking around or like his big evil castle? What would these people do if they saw these walking cartoon characters around? Like even like the henchmen in the castle are animated. I was expecting them to be live action for some reason. So it's so weird. It like I said, a lot of these characters don't do anything, and Gargamel is like secondary to Rosamel throughout this whole movie because all that Gargamel wants is to feel like he's connected with his brother again.
And that just kind of goes nowhere.
Nowhere. And then it's like, oh, OC Do Not Steal Smurf didn't actually have magic. It was the magic book that gave him the magic all this time. And oh boy, he finally finds his purpose where he can start shooting magic. And this movie is so, like, the story itself is so shoddily put together. And the animation loses its charm in between, like, the opening musical sequence to now because it's just like, it's whatever. It doesn't look as fun, like, as interesting as the 2017 movie.
Oh, by the way, we buried the lead. This is an original musical.
Oh, that's right. This is a musical. They have musical numbers in this movie. No villain song, thank God, but they didn't really offer much. They grind the story to a halt. They don't progress the story. They don't get you from point A to point B. It makes you realize how amazing K-pop Demon Hunters music is because it tells a story with its music. It expands upon the characters. It tells their current emotional conflicts and morality and such. This is what happens when you give your creatives more wiggle room. And it just seems like Paramount had no wisdom or faith to let Chris Miller and Pam Grady work. It's not very funny. A lot of the jokes fall flat. The modern pop culture references suck. It just needed to be punchier. It needed to have more life, but it's so boring and dull as a movie. It's so corporate feeling.
I have to agree. This is one of those movies where walking out of it, I actually started to question whether I actually liked movies because I just felt nothing from a story on paper that sounds more interesting than the finished product. Like, there are good themes kind of buried in very bland execution, awful dialogue, and even all of the lore that they jam pack into this movie. It honestly kind of feels like forcing a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah, like the evil wizards don't do anything except talk shit about Rosamel and then get shoved into a water cooler tank, and then nothing else happens. Nothing. They don't help in the story. They don't do anything. Gargamel gets that one pop culturally line of just like, man, you were in a magical world for years. What? How the heck do you know about social media influencers? Okay. It's like this movie makes me mad. Like I don't like being this mad about a stupid Smurfs movie. And I know the animators and directors and writers did their best with this, and obviously it sounds like Paramount just wanted this to be the most bland, blase film ever, because even at the very least, even though it went through its own production hell, at least Elio has themes. At least it has a story. It has a few Pixar sentimental moments. This has nothing. And it sucks even more, especially after seeing that Hoppers trailer, which is so funny, so creative, has all the identity of Daniel Chong from We Bare Bears, who like created that show and is directing Hoppers. And how he also came out and said, like, yeah, sorry, none of the like shenanigans actually happened with Hoppers. So it just makes Smurfs look bad. And anytime I saw an animated movie this year that had the Smurfs trailer play in front of it, it just looked bad. It looked so bad. And it is a bad movie. It doesn't do anything. It's not captivating. No one was in my theater when I went to see this movie. Well, to be fair, there were two families and one adult. The one adult got out, and one of the families left before the movie ended. I don't do that. When the family leaves, that's a bad sign.
I'm pretty sure I saw a couple families in my screening this afternoon, like walking to and from the theater like multiple times. I don't think they were really invested in the movie.
Well, the movie
Like,
sucks. It's not captivating. It's not compelling in any creative possible way. You are just sitting there, just bored and just hating the writing, hating just all this corporate nonsense. And it doesn't even help more that right after I got out, I was so tempted to see the Fathom event screening of My Neighbor Totoro until I found out the Regal Unlimited does not cover Fathom events, so I just didn't want to pay the money. And then I went to see 28 Years Later, and it's like, wow, okay, whatever flaws, whatever. This is like a movie with an identity, with a purpose, with a look. Smurfs is going to be forgotten. This episode comes out. So you asked me earlier in a Facebook group, is this the nail in the coffin for Smurfs movies? Yeah, unless Europe picks up the slack and gets like Benjamin Renner to direct a 2D animated Smurfs comedy or something like that. I don't think they will ever give this franchise another shot because yes, it is a small budget. Yes, it has so far made a little more than half of its budget back, but it premiered at number 4. And of course, obviously, it's dealing with the fact that there's I Know What You Did Last Summer and Jurassic World Rebirth is still doing pretty well. And then obviously the recent release of Superman. I'm sorry, I'm going to go see the James Gunn well received Superman movie and I'm going to take my kids there because no kid cares about Smurfs.
That's unfortunate. Like, I honestly think this is one of those properties that we should just put back on the shelf, at least on the big screen, for minimum 5 to 10 years.
Oh, just go to full Monty. Do 20 years. Like, do it until like there's like a retro look back fascination with Smurfs. Because if this is the best that America can do with the Smurfs, just stop. Just stop.
Maybe this should just like be reduced to bring it back to Belgium. Let them take care of this property because clearly America is not doing it justice.
Or it's like these studios just aren't willing to give creatives the wiggle room. Like Chris Miller can make a solid movie. Like Shrek the Third sucked, but that's not fully on him. And Puss in Boots, the first one, was a solid, fun action adventure movie. And Pam Grady can write comedy. She helped with South Park until Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. So with bland songs, forgettable characters, bad story execution, there is just nothing going on for this movie. And if you really want to see that multiverse sequence, wait for it to hit on demand. Someone will upload that whole sequence, and then that's all you ever need to watch of the movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because at least it had the one great joke where Smurfette literally erases Rosamel's legs. So he had to literally drag himself across the ground. If there was more of that, the movie would have been fun. But I'm going to assume at one point we're going to have another what the hell happened behind the scenes thing, and we're going to hear all about it. Because originally, Nickelodeon was attached to this more. And then at one point or another, they pulled out. Not quick enough to not have a small SpongeBob short at the beginning, which was like 3 minutes of one gag, which, okay, was fine, whatever, nothing all that special, but it was funnier than anything in the movie.
Oh,
so,
yeah, no, agreed.
Oh, God. And I'm starting to wonder if that new SpongeBob movie coming out is actually not doing the stylized animation and is actually just doing the CGI stuff that we've seen in the specials. So Paramount Animation's in a bad spot right now. That's really
it's unfortunate.
As a company, it's bad right now, and their recent antics are doing it no favors. Like, screw you, Paramount, you spineless, uncreative cowards. So let's go on to another different kind of frustration with Jujutsu Kaisen Hidden Inventory / Premature Death. This is a compilation movie. And Mike, I swear to God, if G Kids or some other company like Shout, Neon, or Netflix, at the very least, doesn't offer up something like foreign animation wise, I'm going to freak out because outside of Lost in Starlight and Colorful Stage the movie, a lot of, if not a mass majority of the releases this year have been anime compilation releases. I am so tired of them.
I'm kind of baffled that we have gotten not just one, not two, but 3 compilation films, and I may be even like missing another one. 1 a year is like, okay, yeah, sure, I get it. Anime is popular, but 3 in the span of like 7 months or even less, that's concerning.
What's also weird, it's like, yeah, we technically didn't do the Kaiju number 8 one. I just forgot about that one. It's just like the weird thing about like Hidden Inventory Premature Death compilation movie is it came out a year after, I think, or like a year or two after the second season wrapped up. I think it was season 2 was in 2023 or at the very least 2024.
The last episode aired December 2023.
What happened there? Why is this compilation movie out? It is so late out gate that I'm sure they did this because they had to give the fans something, so why not make a compilation movie? The third season just got announced that it's in production. Why? That's the only reason I can assume they make this movie, because otherwise, you waited 2 years to essentially release a movie with a story arc that was already told through its already like good medium of storytelling. It's like the reverse Mugen Train incident with Demon Slayer, where they said, okay, the best way to tell the Mugen Train arc is through a movie. Chainsaw Man is telling its arc through a movie. But now, when Mugen Train got popular, they were like, okay, for the next season, we are going to take the Mugen Train movie and expand upon it into like 7 episodes.
I really don't know what the logic with this, other than, as you mentioned, Cameron, the fact that season 3 isn't due for another year, so they want to give fans something to whet their appetites, but they can already watch the first 5 episodes of season 2 on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, unedited. So the only thing that the movie does is puts them in like a movie format. There's no like additional context, no additional scenes. It's just the first 5 episodes of season 2 smashed into a movie. Outside of just giving the fans something to watch, like why did G Kids want to pick this up? Was it because, well, it's because Toho owns them and Toho was a big distributor for this movie.
That actually is a good point that you brought up. Is it starting to become a problem with Toho now owning G Kids that they're basically just using them as a marketing arm for their TV shows?
I get it. Dan to Dan, get it. They have the rights to it. Witch Watch, I get it. Gundam G Quick, get it. Colorful Stage, yeah, I get why they had to bring that over. It's to be clear, it's not a bad movie per se. It's a good story because well, yeah, it is the best story arc of the franchise. It's because Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the few shonen hype battle theories where it really wants to focus on building up its world and its character. Because as much as it is a rule of law for any shonen battle franchise, like a big cast of characters to make the world feel fleshed out, a lot of the times you don't really get to know a lot about the characters.
Thankfully, that's not the case with Jujutsu Kaisen, and what's really cool about this show is this is technically the second prequel that they've done. The first one was the movie Jujutsu Kaisen 0. This arc is even a prequel to that, where we get to see Satoru, Gojo, and Gato as high schoolers, and we get to see kind of their early missions, and before Gato becomes like a major villain in the next arc, he's actually like close friends with Gojo.
I mean, it was always implied that, yeah, Gato and Gojo were like friends. And this was the one, like, they took 6 or so episodes to build upon what is the great igniting incident of the franchise. Where it was basically like a normal day with jujitsu sorcerers. They were going to set up on a escort mission to take this immortal cursed girl to become like, what's the term that they use, like
Assimilated.
to help this guy who has an immortality curse. And everything was going fine. Well, that is until the guy with the purple caterpillar curse.
Oh, Toji?
Toji Fushiguro throws a wrench into the situation. So basically, like, it turns into an escort mission, and it's all about how, for the most part, it's funny because if you had to ask me, like, what's the difference between Gojo and Suguru Geto were, it was like they had roles reversed in some way, where Gojo was more the flippant personality, where Geto was more about, you gotta accept the rules here, man. You can't be so flippant and cynical all the time. It was also about just like how this young girl who is like predisposed to be assimilated into like the client that they're like taking this girl to. It's like she enjoys life and it's supposed to be like wonderful and such because that's how you should. You should just, because who knows what's going to happen. You should enjoy life.
Exactly.
And then shit hits the fan when Toji from off screen shoots the young girl.
That is one of the moments that when I first watched that, it was pretty devastating.
It was a real like, oh shit moment where this is like the big like origin story turning point for like Count Dooku with the Tales of the Sith anthology series. It's the moment where Geto finally is like, why did this happen? Like, what is our purpose if we cannot protect this young girl? And they were getting chased by two different people, like this Q society and then this Falling Star society. The Q society is like taken care of pretty like effectively immediately. They take care of their strongest people and then it's like, okay, they're done, bye. And then with the like the Starlight society or whatever they're called,
The Star Religious group.
the roles and mannerisms and the ideals of both Geto and Gojo switch. Like Geto gets the dead girl out of the grasp of the Starlight religious group, which I'm sure is like some play and jab at like happy science and such. Because they're just smiling and clapping, and Gojo carrying the body out is like, you know, maybe we should kill these people. I don't think I'd feel a thing. And this was after a near-death experience fighting Toji Fushiguro, who we find out is the
He's the father of
Megumi Fushiguro.
Yes.
Toji is like so interesting as a villain because it's obvious that like he has very little care about the world around him. And it is kind of funny how he's just like stop making me act like I'm unemployed. I'm not. Even though it's like, sure, buddy. But he does care for his son because he knows his son's about to get sold off to a different clan. So he's just doing all this just to either prep him or just making sure he's okay. So he doesn't have to suffer the fate of what's happened to Toji. But the thing is, the moment that everything changes is when Gojo walks out of that room with all the clapping cult members.
That's like kind of the perfect like transition point where, like you put it, Gojo and Geto, they switch roles.
Well, and it's done in a very cool visual way where Geto is like, his view is white. Gojo's room is like dark red and black and such. And Gojo is like, I gotta freaking protect these people at all costs because we cannot let this happen. We cannot let people like Toji Fushiguro murder again. Well, Geto is just like, maybe these people deserve to get slaughtered. And you don't see it, but it's basically implied he disintegrated that entire room of people and absorbed them. Then it is pretty much like Geto has an identity crisis. He's like, what is the ideal world that I want to live in? And it doesn't help that blonde woman who, spoilers, does show up later on in season 2, like near the end, asking him not only what his type of women are, which considering what kind of person Geto turns out to be, I don't think you want to know, lady.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what's the ideal way of taking care of these curses? It's either you kill all the curses or you kill all the non-curse sorcerer users and such. And basically it turns into a whole... Mike, what was your comparison to the great Gojo Geto divide?
They are to this world what Professor X and Magneto are to the X-Men.
Exactly. They are conflict of ideals, and the story arc pretty much ends with Geto becoming like who he would become with pseudo Geto, and saying like, yeah, I'm going to kill all the humans. While Gojo is like, no, man, I'm going to protect all the humans. Because it's funny because, yeah, Gojo was very flippant when he was a high schooler. Like, he still kind of is, but not as badly as he was back then. Because it's like that moment where Geto is talking to one of the Q members, like before he gets either eaten or crushed by that one cursed being that he has him like constricted by. And they're like, oh, well, don't worry, we got the strongest guy going after Gojo. And then he pulls out his phone. It's like, is this him? And I'm like, oh, right. Like, I can see why this became one of the most popular arcs of this story. It is good stuff. And it's, once again, one of those shonen hype shows where it truly does care about expanding and focusing on other characters that aren't just Yuji Itadori, Megumi Fushiguro, and Nobara Kugisaki. And
This is
such.
also one of the funniest arcs in the series. It definitely has a more, until shit hits the fan, this arc has a lot more levity, not just in the writing, but like the sight gags, the way the characters are animated, kind of feels like a nice, lighter, a bit of relief before like the next arc gets like much darker.
This season, that arc does not let go. It is, and it is also like it picks up very well after that. You finally have the backstory change and of why Gojo and Geto are who they are. Because it is like when you're watching that first season, I remember I was like, why is this guy a threat? He's just walking around with these high level cursed spirits. And a lot of times they're just hanging out while talking. They're not like in an evil lair or something. They're just like hanging out in public because nobody can see them. And then when they do see them, they all, get murdered. But like there's something funny about them hanging around a playground area. But it's also like very scary that they're so deadly and powerful. They can just hang out where all these kids are playing and enact their plan with no worry of being spotted or like whatever and such. The push from the pedal to the metal of this arc, where a bunch of veils, it's like a multitude of them, end up everywhere around Shinjuku, where by the end of it, there's just a big old fucking crater, like a void of nothing because of Pseudo Geto and his crew are going around basically making all the humans suffer by getting either cursed or eaten by the cursed spirits. What's so interesting about Jujutsu Kaisen as a series is that there's no real sign or purpose of filler. We are no longer in that time period where, for the life of who knows why, like Naruto needed like 90% filler, 10% plots, or like One Piece needs to have like a special non-canon arc because it gives Oda time to work on the next arc and such. Jujutsu Kaisen has no time for that. It wants to be extremely story driven, but not in a way that's like Premiere TV. It is still 24 episodes, like 23 to 24 episodes of nonstop plot.
It can be exhausting if you're watching like all 23 episodes at once, but it's also just so engaging that you want to keep finding out what happens next each week.
Your favorite characters return and they bring out new ones or they build upon previously introduced characters and such. I have to say that sequence where one of the big fan favorite characters of like the series, Kento Nanami, comes into play. First of all, he was a great character in season 1. You see a little bit of him in the hidden inventory, like when he was younger and such. And you find out like what his drive is because his friend from back then gets killed. But when he shows up for the Shinjuku incident, like after the whole hidden inventory and premature death, Mekamaru gets attacked by Pseudo Ghetto and the other cursed entity, Mahito, who's voiced by Lucian Dodge, who's great. And because they want Mekamaru to be part like on their side. It's like, hey, if we fix your body, we'll make sure to use your technology and whatever to help us take over humanity because humanity's like fucked you over, right, man? You got to join us for that reason alone. And then Mekamaru's just like, nope, I'm going to fight you till the end, buddy. And I do love the Evangelion giant mech thing and the literal middle finger attack that he gives Mahito. Like, it's a literal middle finger. There's no other way to look at it.
Yeah, that was oddly satisfying.
But then when we get to the Shinjuku incident and everyone starts dying left and right, and a lot of the sorcerers that teamed up with Pseudo Ghetto because they like his idea of killing the humans and just letting cursed spirits and jujitsu sorcerers walk among the living. There's this one character that shows up, and I forgot what his name is. But he's like this lanky, blonde psychopath. And it is hilarious to see, like, at first it's just like, oh my god, calm down. Stop stabbing the people we like. Stop killing people. And he's about to take out one of the 3 first years, Nobara. But then Kento Nanami comes in. Boy, when he wraps that cloth around his or tie around his hand and grabs that person by the ponytail, let's just say I remember when that scene hit the internet. 2 different kind of reactions came to be because of that. One was a satisfying as hell beatdown to a character that rightfully deserved it. Just like, he did not give him a chance to stand up. He just grabbed his hair and pulled him up and then just beat the shit out of him. But also, you know, let's just say he got the daddy treatment.
Yep.
So, like, what's so fascinating about these villain characters is while some of them get like a little bit of development, my fascination with them is with the 3 cursed spirits. Dagon, Hanami, and Jogo, along with Mahito. Like a normal shonen franchise series would save them at the very end of the series. Like, they'd like almost win or almost lose, and then they would get out scot-free. Jujutsu Kaisen was just like, no. Hanami is brutally murdered by Gojo, and then Dagon is killed by a group of the jujitsu sorcerers. One who is this old drunkard man who at first is like, God, this guy does nothing. He is a drunkard, weirdo. Why is he here? And then he just so happens to have one of the coolest abilities of basically breaking down the world around him at like frames of animation. And because at first I was like, man, this is a weird tangent he's going on. And even Dagon's just like, oh my god, dude, shut up. And then it all makes sense when you find out his ability. Like, he could grab you, turn you flat, and then just pummel you or do what or hit you hard. Like I said, multiple things like this are going on. There's this group of sorcerers that aligned with Geto, and they're like, okay, I'm going to bring back this one body for my grandson to get possessed by. And it turns out to be Megumi's father. And that, just because the spirit's just like, I'm going to go after the strongest people. Oh, look, Granny, you're here in front of me. What a coincidence. Dies off screen and then kills, or pretty much kills Dagon. And then, through, of course, obvious rage, Jogo just like, burn, 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 fire, fire, fire. Just, y'all are dead. You all suck. And then we see those two high school girls who were with Pseudo Geto, and I think they were the same little girls that he saved way back in the day.
Yep.
Because, oh yeah, by the way, Geto, after he killed that whole room of cult members, he then came back to the cult and was like, by the way, I'm going to take over this cult now. It's owned by me. Oh, by the way, you, the one who actually has a name, here, come here, and then gets crushed. And then he goes and sees this small town of 112 people, and they're like, these girls have weird, scary powers. They need to die. And he's just like,
I have a better idea.
Yeah. And then kills 112 of them. And that's basically what incites Gojo to be like, yo, man, what the fuck? And you think, like, Gojo is pretty strong, right? He's like one of the strongest members of the entire cast. He can basically stop time and warp reality to his doing. And yet, Gojo loses. He gets sealed away by Geto. It is a shock because you think, maybe it's just because I have bad power fantasy isekai rot in my brain, but they would never do that in those kind of shows. Jujutsu has stakes in it.
That's something I appreciate about this show, is even someone who is like confirmed in universe to be like the most powerful jujutsu sorcerer can still be locked away like that. That ramps up the tension like tenfold.
It's funny because I think those two schoolgirls who show up like to help Pseudo Geto were also in the Jujutsu Kaisen 0 movie, if I recall. They were part of that like group of pseudo villains and such that were after, oh, what's their name? Yuta Okotsu.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And at first, because it was funny, because at first there's that one little moment between the hidden inventory premature death arc where Itadori like encounters this tall girl that had a crush on him but had like a different visual look to her, and then like grew up, and it was like this nice little character moment. This show in this franchise doesn't forget to give little breathing moments to let the characters interact with one another and such. It is really nice, again, that Nobara Kugisaki, while having more of the ability to use cursed items than anything else, is not relegated to being the healer because she's a girl. Like, I'm sorry, that just so many of those type of shows used to do that a lot, where it's like, okay, she's a main character, but she's not going to be that strong. She's going to rely on all the other boys to do the fighting while she does support role stuff. And it's like, no. she
can hold her own.
I mean, that's what I've liked about these characters. And even though it still suffers from some shonen battle stuff where some of the female characters are still underdeveloped as characters, but they're better than a good handful of shonen shows like female cast members and such. Like, this goes places. The villains are brutally like picked off one by one. Like, there's a moment where Itadori is knocked out. Those two teenage girls from Zero and from the past give him one of those cursed Asukuna fingers, which, again, if I was forced to eat a bunch of cursed human fingers, Can you at least like fry them up or put some spices on them? Just tell me to picture myself, like hypnotize me to say, okay, buddy, you're going to eat a mozzarella stick or something like that. Like, I don't know, man. I think I'd have to gag a little first if you're telling me eat the finger.
Seriously.
Jogo, God, these names, comes in and he's just like, I have no time for you girls because I'm going to just shove 10 more fingers down this guy's throat, which, phrasing. And that moment, man, when he's just like, oh, the girls survived my fire blast. Okay, well, you girls are wasting my time. And he realizes his hand's been sliced off. Like, again, I am so impressed with this show saying, oh, yeah, these are cursed spirits, but they're not the end game. They just happen to be strong for this part of the story. But what's great about this, the villain power ranking in this show is you could be a strong curse user, you could be a super strong jujutsu sorcerer, you could be a powerful spirit. Sukuna looms over all. Sukuna is the end game threat. I love the storytelling in this show because of that. Because at first I was like, okay, Sukuna's fingers, whatever. But here it's like, oh, right, we haven't really focused on that in a little bit. We gotta make people remember that it's like, oh, right, Sukuna is like the end game baddie we all have to worry about, who also happens to be the main character.
That's what makes the show so fascinating. And like the dynamic between Itadori and Sukuna is, it's not like other shonen anime where just because like the main character has like this special ability, or they have like some inner demon that they're just like naturally on good terms. No, Sukuna is still pure evil.
It's like the way he toys with Jogo is like, hey, if you hit me, I'll join your cause. And no. Even Jogo is just like, one day we will be reborn as spirits and hopefully we can see each other again. When it pulls back and he's just like a burnt corpse on the ground, like, oh, it's so good. The storytelling is great. And you find out that Pseudo Ghetto is, maybe there's a reason why he's called Pseudo Ghetto. You are revealed, I don't know if you saw this part, but he reveals why he's got stitches around his forehead. So
that's the moment where I knew, like, oh, okay, now we're getting to some interesting stuff here.
Yeah, that Suguru Ghetto is no longer like the end game boss. He's up there, but he's not there. So we'll have to see what happened in between the premature death and now for him to have what's going on inside him go happen and such. It's just like, this is such a good show. The action is dynamite. It's funny because when watching this, all I could think about was how Dana Terrace, the creator of Owl House and that upcoming pilot for Glitch, got a weird amount of flack from her and someone else who was working alongside her on the new pilot about how, yes, tragic backstories are actually a good idea. And do not scoff at them because sometimes some stories end up with them trying to redeem them. It's like, no. And we've talked about this multiple times on the podcast. Just because you give your villain a tragic backstory doesn't redeem them of their actions. Like, Suguru Ghetto, he's kind of like beyond redemption now because of what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives you an idea of why who he is and why he became who he is now.
Yeah,
it's a good storytelling point.
His tragic backstory is not excusing his actions, it's merely explaining what he's all about.
It's just good stuff, man. And like I said, the moment when some of the popular characters come back into the fold in Frey, and they bring in like new twists and turns, like, oh, what's his name? Aoi Toto, the pop star obsessed buff guy. who's always going to ask you what your preferred woman type is. When he's just like, okay, brother, we're going to take down that one cursed spirit and such. And it's funny, he has like secondary sorcerer come in and it's just like, okay, I healed the friend here and I gonna put a spell on Itadori here. But the twist is because Todo keeps calling Itadori his brother, the new guy is just like, they look nothing alike. Why is he calling him brother? So it's just like, oh god, he's got the Drax situation where he's taking things way too literal. At first, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about Jujutsu Kaisen season 2. Like, am I still going to love this show? And it's like, oh yes. I think the fact that it's more story focused is what drives me to really compels me to watch this show, and I want to see what happens with season 3. I know I can read the manga, that's beside the point. And this is also around the same time where Dana Terrace and the other person were like, for the love of God, do not just intake animation. Intake live action stuff. Read books, do art. Like, take in as much as you humanly can to create your stories. Because if you just base everything off of a cartoon, that's bad.
You're just going to end up with like copies of the same tropes and cliches that we've all seen hundreds of times. At least with shows like Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man, you're starting to see more influences from martial arts movies and like horror elements
and dramas and stuff. And it's going for like a compelling like conflict of interest of it kind of sucks that our main character is super strong, but he's also the host of the strongest jujitsu sorcerer of all time. And once he gets all 20 fingers and such, he's going to basically get killed. Like, that sucks. Like, there's no benefit of that.
No.
And you could tell by the way some of these shots are worked that someone watched a lot of live action stuff, especially like during the hidden inventory arc where the young girl's just like, thank you, Geto, for letting me enjoy life, and then she gets shot. It does that really cool camera pan to the like it follows the body falling and hitting the ground. And it's like, you don't do that unless you watch Gareth Edwards action movies or action movies where the camera is literally following like the movements and stuff, like in the Kingsman series and such. Like, this is why you watch and intake as much as possible, fiction, nonfiction, whatever.
Exactly.
Because this anime, while it's still very Japanese, it has very Western ideas with its action and cinematography. It's just a good show. And it's not like I don't love My Hero Academia anymore or anything. It's just that, like, Dandadan, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Chainsaw Man are like the standard bearers now. Because even like as much as I love My Hero Academia, it still came out of that transitional time of old school shonen to new school shonen. So it kind of got stuck in the middle. Where here, Jujutsu Kaisen just feels fresh and invigorating alongside Chainsaw Man, Dandadan, and other new shonen series.
You can kind of slot Demon Slayer in there. Granted, I still have some catching up to do with that series, but that's also up there in terms of this new wave of shonen battle anime.
I would say it suffers the same amount from My Hero Academia just because, once again, it just doesn't really make the female characters as interesting. But again, we need to catch up on that because I think we definitely need to talk about those Infinity Castle movies when they come out and such, because that's how they're wrapping up the series. So it's just so funny. We go from the most corporate, boring piece of garbage with the Smurfs, and this isn't anything towards Chris Miller, Pam Grady, or the hundreds of artists that worked on this movie. You did what you could, and unfortunately, it just turned out to not be a very good movie. You didn't intend it to be, but it just happens sometimes. Two, where Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, and with this weird compilation movie coming out, it makes you see like what a distinct artistic vision looks like. And even though there were a lot of moments in Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 where it was like, yo, we cannot get these episodes out as soon as possible anymore. We need to get the time to make these look as good as possible, because there were a few scenes where I don't know if they fixed them by now or not, but when they hit social media, they were like, wow, look at the wild abstract shapes that they're doing. And the animators or directors who worked on those episodes were like, yeah, that was intentional. Yeah. Totally didn't run out of time. And just put out an unfinished section. Pay your animators, Mappa, and pay your animators all over the industry. But it's just like Jujutsu Kaisen, with how it has gone so far, has really captivated me. I want to see what season 3 is like. I want to see how this ends.
I'm not sure where I would place Jujutsu Kaisen in like my list of best anime of the 2020s, but it's got to be like top 5 at least.
I'm going to assume maybe top 10 for me, because it's just like I have to see how it ends. And from what I hear, it ends well. It's also funny because this is like recently Kaiju number 8 just ended, and we're getting the second season as we are recording this. So we'll just have to see where Jujutsu Kaisen goes when we return to it next time. So next time we're going to talk about Asterix and Obelisk. And we're going to talk about the recent 5 or 6 episode series and the last 2 CGI films that finally came out to the US. So be on the lookout.
So until next time, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me online on Blue Sky at Cam's Eye View. I have a website called camseyeview.biz where I have like written reviews for animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I am a writer for Media Magpies, your new one-stop shop for pop culture and media analytical like discourse and such. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseiview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/Coach K42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.